We are deep into the Eastern Conference semifinals at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. The New York Knicks hold a commanding 3-0 series lead, following 5 straight playoff victories and a decisive 108-94 win in Game 3. Despite New York outscoring Philadelphia by 45 points over the last 2 matchups, the betting markets showed a sudden shift, moving to favor the Sixers by 2.5 points going into Friday night. This comparison highlights the friction. On the left, the reality of the Knicks' undefeated series record. On the right, a market assigning New York a negative expected value despite their dominance. With the oddsmakers leaning toward Philadelphia despite the scoreboard, we have to look at whether the Sixers actually have a path to a comeback, or if New York's structural advantage is too deep to break. Philadelphia's strategy relies on a superstar ceiling. They depend on the high variance ability of a single elite player to take over and shift the game's momentum. The Knicks operate on systemic depth, relying on defensive advantages and roster-wide contributions that accumulate over 48 minutes. If you appreciate objective, tactical breakdowns over reactionary takes, make sure you hit subscribe. To see why the market projections are struggling, we'll use our strategic showdown matrix to analyze the specific positional matchups driving this series. Evaluating this series requires looking past the highlights to see if a team's structural floor can effectively neutralize an opponent's theoretical ceiling. Joel Embiid returned from injury for Game 3 and put up 18 points. His presence alone was expected to be the catalyst that shifted the balance of power. The Knicks countered that threat with structural spacing, frequently positioning Karl-Anthony Towns out on the perimeter instead of matching Embiid in the paint. Placing Towns at the three-point line structurally pulls Embiid away from the basket. Moving the Sixers' best rim protector to the arc opens up consistent driving lanes for the rest of the New York roster. The trade-off is that Towns is exposed on the other end, where he has to handle Embiid's physicality without much help. Towns picked up 3 quick fouls in the first half of Game 3, forcing New York to adjust their rotation earlier than they would have liked. The Knicks appeared to accept this foul trouble as a necessary cost for neutralizing Philadelphia's primary defensive anchor. New York's depth on the wing is anchored by Mikal Bridges, who contributed 23 points while carrying a heavy defensive load. The defensive plan involves high-motor wings pressing Philadelphia's primary perimeter threats for the full length of the court to disrupt their rhythm. Tyrese Maxey has been a primary target of this pressure, finding himself constantly hounded before he even crosses half-court. You can see the result in Paul George's numbers. He scored 15 points in the first quarter, but went scoreless on 0 for 9 shooting the rest of the game as the pressure intensified. This strategy is taxing. It requires the Knicks starters to maintain high intensity over very long stretches. So far, the effort has paid off by forcing the Sixers to rely on tertiary options like Kelly Oubre rather than their primary stars. By limiting the production of secondary scores, New York's perimeter defense forces Embiid to carry the scoring load without reliable support. Jalen Brunson recovered from a slow 2 for 8 start to finish 11 for 22, ending the game with 33 points. New York generated that late production through relentless pick-and-roll actions designed to test Embiid's lateral mobility after his injury. These actions frequently isolated Embiid in a drop coverage stance, forced to choose between the drive or shot. Brunson used hesitation to break down the defense, creating space for several late threes that pushed the lead to double digits. Relying on this heavy isolation can lead to a stagnant offense if the shots aren't falling early. While it can cause early friction, winning this point-of-attack battle has consistently allowed the Knicks to control the pace when the game moves into the clutch. When you combine the front court spacing and perimeter pressure, the Knicks' current success appears less like a streak and more like a structural advantage. The path for Game 4 comes down to a choice: betting on Philadelphia reaching its theoretical ceiling, or trusting the Knicks' structural floor. Choosing the first branch means expecting consistent, high-end production that Philadelphia's roster is currently limited from reaching. Trusting the Knicks means betting on a structural floor, built on wing depth and spacing, that has effectively neutralized Philadelphia's home court advantage. Through 3 games, the Knicks have shown that a consistent structural floor is currently neutralizing Philadelphia's reliance on superstar variance. Joel Embiid warned the Wells Fargo Center could turn into Madison Square Garden East. That shift is now a reality alongside the Knicks' tactical takeover. New York fans have traveled in droves to claim space in Philadelphia, mirroring the team's ability to dictate play on the road. This high-profile presence in the stands only emphasizes the shift in the series' momentum. A compromised superstar is struggling to overcome a system where every rotation is built to exploit his physical limitations. The Knicks lead 3-0 because they've successfully dictated how these games are played. Hit subscribe and join our Facebook community for more deep dives into how the Knicks